Welcome back, everyone. This is Burn the Ship. The goal of Burn the Ship is to connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go on your business, people that have walked the walk and talked the talk and been through all of those things that we experience as small business owners and entrepreneurs. And hopefully we can bottle up some of those skills and teach them to you guys to implement in your own businesses. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your business, my friend?
So my name is Scott Fuller. I run the studio Temporary. We are an iconic design studio. Do everything from brand and identity, illustration, type design, packaging, all kind of stuff.
So tell me your story. Kind of tell me how you got into business and what kind of drove you to do that, and then kind of where your business is now, like who you're mostly working with and things like that.
So my dad is a machinist, has been for over 40 years. He went out on his own in 93, so I would have been 8. And I always remember how much he enjoyed doing that. You know, obviously there were ups and downs and everything like that, but I remember how much he really, really, really loved working for himself. So I knew from a young age that ultimately I wanted to work for myself. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do at the time, but I was like, I don't know, I'm going to do something, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, my dad, one of the smartest people I know, he's got a high school diploma, that's it. But, he ran that company for, 20 years, and did great. And I went from there, started out working as a machinist, worked with him in the shop from when I was like 9, 10 years old,
Learning skills.
little bit after school. Yeah, trade skills, blue collar, man. I mean, every couple hours each day after school, go in and do that. My mom did the books and everything. So
Nice.
we usually there after school pretty much every day. And great Lego money.
Yeah.
So just great stuff. And I got a scholarship for college for mechanical engineering. So I was ready to go, ready to do that. But I had done art and, ever since I was a little boy. And decided I'm going to visit the college one more time. Went to the art department, decided I'd rather do that instead, which was a pretty big shock to everyone, except for one person, which is my art teacher. And after that, I found design about a year in and realized that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And, now I graduated in 2008, which wasn't a great year for anything. So we did that. It took me 2.5 years to find a design job.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, it was crazy. So, I mean, that first year, I'm the grunt boy in a machine shop. It was nasty. It was dangerous. It was, that was one of the worst places I've ever worked. Every machine shop is different, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, Dad kept a clean ship, did the stuff right. Go to some of these places, and it was just, it was just hell. Yeah, it was nuts. So I was there, and then I was at Georgia Hydraulic, and then I was all these different, places. It's like I never thought I'd work as a machinist again, and here I did it for almost 2 years. After I got out of college, with a design degree, and I was working there. I was working at a screen printing shop. This is so funny. So the screen printing shop was called the Art of Tees, like Tees. But the people that ran it were Latino, right? So they had like this silhouette of like a girl in there. So we're in like the middle of the Bible Belt, noon and everything. They almost didn't get the sign done because somebody thought it was a strip club, right? So I'd go in there each day, here's the silhouette, here's the Art of Tees, and I'm just in there, going and doing and whatever. I think the worst one we had, what is it? You could, I can't even, you could like bedazzle stuff. Like you could go in there and put the little rhinestones, fake rhinestones or whatever on stuff. I think one of my last days there, some guy came in from an actual strip club with these like little thong looking shoelace, whatever things. And I had to print on this little thing and then rhinestone. And I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm done. From there I was like job at an Apple store. It wasn't even a real Apple store. It was called Peach Mac, right? Like a third party thing there in Peachtree City. And from there I met a I met a guy who ran a trucking company up off Truckers Row and off Memorial Drive, and originally brought me in for. At that time, the only thing I was using design for was as a sales tool. That's it, you know. And we started talking, and he said, "Well, come on in. I might have some freelance work for you." Okay, fine. So I go in, and he says, "Well, actually, I don't have any. I want to hire you to run the department, everything, design, catalogs, packaging, store signage. I mean, anything you could possibly think of, I was designing it." And I'll never forget that day, because I went in after that, gave my 2-week notice, and then that night I found out that my wife was pregnant with our little boy. So that all happened in one day, and that was my first real, design job. And that was 2010, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But I'm sorry, 2011. It was 2011. And went from there, worked there for a couple of years, got laid off, wasn't expecting that at all. You get to a certain point, especially in-house design, I found out if it's a small team, you can just about work yourself out of a job.
Oh yeah.
Depending on how much you put, you do. And that's basically what happened to me. So they figured you can just have somebody come in and just produce for half of what I was making. So, it's how it goes. I'm not upset. I'm not, whatever. It was that's just what happens.
Sure.
So about 3 months later, 4 months later, not doing well, can't find work, can't do this. It's just nuts. And we actually got evicted.
Oh, wow.
Had to move back in with my folks. I mean, we had a 1-year-old. This was right around my wife's birthday. I mean, it was just every single thing you could possibly think of. It went wrong. But a year earlier, I was in the back of an old sign shop in downtown Noonan, and I was working with a guy on a little restaurant project, freelance project that I got. Loved his little, workshop so much, and I'm like, if you're not here, can I work back here? It's I just need somewhere to work. So we got to know each other a little bit, and then a couple weeks later, he gave me a key and just said, "I work here from this time to this time." He said, "Any of those other times, you can do whatever you want."
Wow.
Never charged me a penny.
Wow.
Never charged me a penny. And I remember the first night there, as a joke, I called the place the Studio Temporary.
Yeah.
Right? Good design wherever I happened to be, right? So I started, kind of operating under, trying to operate under a name, not just Scott Fuller Design or whatever. And I read an interview by one of my favorite designers, and he was asked, "What's the most important tool in your studio?" And his answer was my head, right? So I went back, and that's when I came up with the good design wherever I happened to be, came up with the Studio Temporary. So I came up with the name in 2012, so a little over 10 years ago. And then found a job up here out of the blue at a place called Impact Partnership. They do a lot of like annuities and stuff like that and whatnot. They had a big in-house design team, had I think it was like 180 people or something like that. And then had like 25 people as part of their in-house team. Everything from video to branding to design to events and everything like that. So I was there for about a year. And we moved up here. I'd been in Noonan my whole life.
Oh, wow.
And so it was pretty crazy. Hey, we're going to move up here. We're going to move up to Woodstock, move up to Ackworth, start this new thing. Let's go from there.
Sure.
90% of my career was in-house at that time. So, and I'd kept doing work on the side and everything like that. What was so funny is that I worked there for a year, but the only people that knew that I actually worked there was my family.
Right.
Nobody on Instagram, nobody online. None of my friends knew I was working there. Everybody thought that I was running the studio full time, right? Mm-hmm. So I tried to kind of keep that going. So, about a year in, somebody at the company screws up big time to the tune of a few tens of millions of dollars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, wow.
And they ended up laying off about 20% of the company in the space of about 24 hours.
Golly.
It was ridiculous. So I had my, I had my 1 year thing 24 hours earlier, got all gold stars, right? I come in there the next day. I'm about to walk out and meet my wife and my little boy, who's 3 now, for lunch. And he's like, "Hey, my creative director, hey, can I buzz you for just a quick second? This will only take a second. I'm going to lunch. Hit me up when I get back. Just take a second." All right, fine. So I text my wife, "Give me 5 minutes." Walk back there. There's him, HR, and 2 pieces of paper on the table. "You suck at this. You suck at this. You suck at this. Da da da." Just a complete 180 from less than 24 hours earlier. So I walked out to meet my wife and my little boy carrying a box of my stuff.
Wow.
Right? So I'm pissed at this point. I've been doing stuff on the side, for a while now. And this had been a bit of my career. Somebody messed up, or this happened or that happened, and, was the last one hired, first one fired, So she said, "If you're going to start your company, start it now. That way, if everything goes downhill, there's no one to blame but you."
Yeah. And what did you really lose, It's kind of where you are.
So that was a little over 8 years ago. And I'm still running it full time.
Congratulations, my friend. Man, the power of 24 hours, right? I guess several times in your career you've seen the
oh my gosh,
it's juxtaposition of one 24 hours to another.
It's ridiculous because, and even less time than that. I remember when the pandemic happened, we're talking, so this would have been March of 2020. I was going to get out on the speaking tour because I go to conferences as well. I speak at design conferences, speak at schools, advertising places. I've spoken at, colleges, agencies, different things like that. And I was going to do workshops and everything like that. Like I had a whole tour basically for that spring and summer, ready to go. And then I got the call in I was literally packing to get on a flight to Washington, D.C. I was going to have basically 3 days there. Mm-hmm. And I was going to kick everything off. And I got a call about 10 o'clock, said, "Hey, have you checked into your flight yet?" No, I'm about to. Like, well, hold off for just 1 second. We're dealing with some stuff. Let me just make sure everything's good. Should be no problem. All right, no problem. An hour later, I get a call from my kid's school. "Hey, everybody's got to come get their kids." Mm-hmm. Okay. And then in the next hour, I lost every single talk that I had. And I could just see the money just draining, just in my head. I'm like, I just lost a lot of money, right? Yeah. And what's going to happen? How are we going to do this? And then this project gets put on hold, and this project gets paused, and this project gets canceled, so it was a lot of craziness, but 24 hours can hurt, 24 hours can help.
Oh yeah.
Nothing really I can do about it. So I just have to go and do, and whatever it takes.
So where's your business at now? Like what types of clients are you working with most, and kind of how do you meet those people?
So as far as the type of work, you said type of work that I do?
Yeah, sure. Like what, just type of clients?
Type of clients. I mean,
that you're looking to attract.
I don't know, man. Like I said, I worked in-house for most of my career. So most of it was I'm doing a lot of different things, but for one client, for one industry, right? So when I went out on my own, I said, I don't want to specialize in an industry. I don't want to specialize in a type of client. I said, I'll take startups. I'll take major brands. I'll take sports teams. I'll take mom and pop shops. I'll take the guy around the corner, like whatever it is, right? So my clients kind of run the gamut. You checked off a lot of the boxes that any Georgia designer, right? I worked for Coca-Cola, did some stuff with Chick-fil-A, did some stuff with the Braves and the Hawks, Atlanta United, like that type of stuff, right? But then Iceman, like if you've seen the white trucks and big red top, red logo stuff, I did all their stuff. Everything that they've done for the last 4.5 years, I've been the only one to touch it. They were actually my last meeting before I moved out of my studio in Atlanta, back in 19. They were my last meeting, right? So it was we'll always be kind of tied together with that, right?
Yeah.
A
little bit of trauma bonded.
No,
Yeah.
not even trauma. I mean, like I knew that was coming.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah, I
But
guess that's true.
but every time that I've had to leave somewhere, it's always just be this or that, or it's been like a bad memory, right?
So that was all. That was before the pandemic was even rumbling around.
Yeah.
You had already made that decision to. Oh, okay,
yeah.
that makes
oh
sense.
yeah. So so that was in March of 19, and so we did that. So and then I might do something for a buddy around the corner. So it's all over the place. Right now, I've worked with Ti, his new restaurant,
nice.
Trap City Cafe. I designed that. Killer Mike.
How do you meet these people?
I have so many stories of just how this has happened. I mean, everything from how I started working with the Hawks became how I started working with Killer Mike, which is how I started working with Ti, which is how I found all these other things.
It
Right?
just kind of puts you in that circle.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's helped me out a lot, from the very beginning, my dad, I would see folks walk into his shop, right? And he treated everyone exactly the same. You come in a suit, you come in a shorts and a t-shirt. One of our best clients, I mean, the epitome of mountain man, right? Mm-hmm. Lynn Savage, right? I swear that was his God-given name. He was about 6'6", 6'7", big dude, right? Big, black, felt hat, black t-shirt, black shorts, brown sandals. I've never seen him in anything else, right? An absolute expert on firearms, on guns, historical and current.
Oh, wow.
This guy would testify before like Senate and congressional hearings. I swear he probably did it in the same outfit.
Yeah, as the expert in firearms.
I mean, it was unreal. It was absolutely unreal. Like this guy was like, people would come to him to start figuring out like this is like policy on this or that, or in this case or that case. I mean, this guy was unreal. Lived in a compound for months, like up in the mountains.
Yeah.
One of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life, but you never would have guessed that's who that was, right? But
basing the book by its cover, you'd never know.
Never do that. So I remember Dad would always talking and joking with whoever came into the door. So I saw that from a young age. So I'm the same way. I'm a very much an in-person type of guy. I'd say email is probably my third or fourth favorite way to, I still do it and everything like that. But if we're going to meet up, I actually have a deal now to where if you want to work with me, you either have to meet me in person or do a phone call or now a Zoom. And if you're not willing to do either one of those, I don't take the job, no matter what. Sure. Because that everything that I've ever done, whether it's for Coke, whether it's for anybody here in Atlanta, whether it's for whoever around the corner, there's a personal aspect to everything that I do, everything that I design, everything that I've ever sent out. There's a personal aspect to all of that. So you get to know the person.
Yeah.
And you get to know the company in that way, right? So when I went out, it wasn't just I'm looking for this type of company or this type of client. I'm just looking for some good people.
Yeah, for sure.
And from there, you do a good job, turn it in when you say you're going to turn it in, go above and beyond, as much as you can, and then go from there.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember I used to do cold calls.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And now, when I started out, I was like 10% word of mouth and like 90%, cold calls and going. Yeah. Now it's not only a complete 180. I only reach out every now and again if I just really, really, really want to do that.
Right.
Which is wild to me. Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, no, for sure. Yeah, I get that. That's what a journey. What a journey, though. I mean, you literally built and grew business.
It's crazy. I mean, you never know. Like even to get to what I was doing with like Killer Mike and stuff like that, I knew a buddy who was his photographer for years. He and I never worked together, but he and I would meet up and talk and do whatever. Just a really nice dude. Funny guy. And I spoke at a conference, and someone introduced me to somebody at the Hawks. Never thought anything about it. Did a project for ESPN that they ended up not going through. I took a piece of it, posted it on Instagram. The Hawks found it, asked me to completely design their esports team, the NBA 2K League.
Oh wow.
And during the course of that project, this was in 2018. This is back when Atlanta still had that horrible red and slime green, Volt green, whatever crap that Nike had come out with at the time. And just nothing Atlanta. That was not Atlanta at all. And I remember we were getting ready to work on this project, and I had just gotten the job, right? So I'm sitting down with the CMO, their executive creative director, two amazing ladies, Melissa Proctor and Shirley Zhang. And they said, well, what do you think of our current branding? About every 5 years, the NBA team gets to redesign their jerseys, right? So we were coming up on one in 19 and in 2019, 2020. And I said, honestly, I hate the colors. I said, there's so many people I talk to, can't stand the colors. It's not Atlanta. It's not that. It just doesn't represent who you guys are. It just doesn't.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I said, my stuff, I said, and even the design that y'all saw of mine that you love so much was the OG colors. I said, what I would do is change that. And she's like, you're 5 minutes in and you're thinking change the color. And I said, well, y'all are coming up on a design.
Asked.
You might as well, right?
Yeah, and you asked.
So she called up NBA. Here's our new colors. Red, black, and back to the red, black, and yellow. And then now their current uniforms are that now.
No, yeah, the current uniforms are much better too.
Gorgeous. They're
much better
so
too.
beautiful.
Because you know that period you're talking about with those colors was when I was in college.
That's so you got Dominique and everything. You got and then the Mutombo era, which was just Mutombo, Steve Smith.
Yeah,
that was crazy. That was back when the 90s, right? The Mavericks had that big old horse thing, and then you got the Pistons with like the engine on the horse, and then. What is it? And then, of course, that big Hawks across the chest. That was always one of my favorites. Is it the most amazing design in the world? Probably not, but it had that very special.
It's so unique, though. It just feels like that it really embodies the places that they are.
But that was that was one of the biggest inspirations for my design for that ended up being that. What was so funny is that during the course of the project, the NBA loved the logo that I did for the Hawks Talon Gaming Club so much. They wanted to take that logo and switch out the secondary logo that the Hawks were currently using.
Oh, wow.
And Melissa's like, no. Like, this is ours, right? This is ours. And then from there, Killer Mike opened his swag shop there in the arena. One of the first nights there, I got to go in. My boy and I went to go see a game. Steve was there, Mike was there, got to meet him, got to say hey, we're just chit-chatting. And then Melissa walks out, this Hawks CMO walks out of the swag shop, hey, how's it going? Get a hug, Then she turns to Mike and she goes, this is the kid I was telling you about. And Mike turned to me, he goes, that was you? Yeah, man, that was me. So, man, we're gonna chop it up, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, right? And gave me his cell phone number right then, right there. A couple months later, had our first business meeting at the Varsity.
Oh, nice.
Which was hysterical.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What a place for a business meeting.
Oh, it was great, And I mean, I hadn't been there as a true Atlanta. I haven't been there in years and years and years, It's a little touristy for me at times, but I love the design. I love the stuff they do, but, for anybody coming into town, the cheapest colon cleanse you'll ever get.
Yeah, for sure.
But we just sat in there for an hour and a half and just went for it. And it was fantastic. From there, I got to work on stuff for his barbershop that he and his wife own, and then a chain of them. And then from there, I got to do Bankhead Seafood. We launched it at Frederick Douglass about 2.5 weeks before 3 weeks before everything went down.
Oh, that's tough.
And then from there, did
they reopen it?
So it started out as a food truck, and the idea was at the end of 2020 they were going to open a brick and mortar location at the original spot there on Hollowell, on Donnelly Hollowell, and they're just now getting into construction. 3 years
Really?
later, just with everything that happened with pandemic, with everything that it just
insane.
takes. Yeah. So that's one of my bigger projects coming into the end of the year, is that I'll be working on the inside, the outside, designing all that stuff as well. One of my
That's
favorite
cool.
projects of all time, but it started because I just put something out that I felt needed to be put out,
Yeah, kind of followed the breadcrumbs.
and then just boom, boom, boom. And that's, you know, the strings from that just keep expanding
Yeah,
over
for
the
sure.
last 3-4 years.
It's your network, right?
wild. Yeah.
Tell me what kind of at that, you said 8 years, right? Kind of been running everything 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me some of the skills that kind of helped you be successful. Like, what do you think that you were doing really well that's kind of kept pushing the ball down the hole?
I think the ability to have, excuse me,
It's all good.
the ability to have a good conversation is something. It's something that's been lost.
I
Really,
agree.
really, really lost.
I agree.
mean, I taught at Portfolio Center Design School here in Atlanta. I taught there for a couple of years, man. Presentation day was just cringeworthy, man.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's, folks reading from cards,
Yeah, looking down the whole
looking,
time.
oh my gosh. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, just a regular conversation.
It's a lost art.
It really is. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me is if there is a connection, a personal connection like this, then things are going to go a whole lot better. So I felt like that's something that I was doing well. The other thing that I was doing well was one of my tagline is an iconic design studio. My goal is when I work on a project, I'm going to design something that's never going to have to be redesigned again.
Sure.
So it looks like it would have worked 50 years ago. Looks like it'll work 50 years from now, right? And that's been my goal ever since I was still in college, right? When I got out, 2008 was like right in the middle of this whole, back when sustainability was the new thing. Everything was green and leafy and organic and recyclable and everything. And it was just, from a design standpoint, there was some really cool stuff going on. But from a branding standpoint, everything was very one-dimensional. Everything was this green, leafy, thin, whatever. So my first mentor was a guy named Steph Geispieler. And if y'all don't know who that is, one of the things that he's famous for designing is the NBC logo.
Oh, wow.
A long time ago. I mean, he's
Talk
almost
about
80.
50 years ago and 50 years from now.
It's wild.
It's timeless logo.
And that's what I went in on. I worked with my dad, so much, there in the machine shop and everything. And there's a very, I don't know, it all just kind of worked together. What he was doing with the precision, with making sure everything was right, making sure that you gave them exactly what they needed and made sure that you did the project or the product exactly how it needed to be to do the job it was supposed to do. So I took that along with the engineering, background that I had, and then with the idea,
Spoke all those languages at once through kind of the design process. Yeah.
And that's something that I'm kind of known for. I'm not known. That's one of my favorite things is I'm not known for a look. I'm known for a result.
Right. No,
So
yeah, that makes sense.
I'm very excited about that.
Sure. And what do you think were some of the things that you learned from, some of the skills that you had to acquire?
I think any school that you go to design, you go through anything like that, at least 1 year that should be business.
Oh yeah, for sure. I
mean,
can
it
agree with
is-
that. We actually just had a conversation about that on the podcast. The things that you don't learn, right? Because there's always a hole in everybody's game in the business world. Everybody has a hole in their game, right? That was kind of how I described it as an athlete, right? It's hard for me not to describe it in those terms, but whether it's sales or marketing or design or bookkeeping or the actual rendering of a product, like everybody has a hole in your game.
Right.
But it's crazy to me that for the most part, like I would say like 75% of the people have the same like knowledge gap in the actual structural business side of things.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of resources out there for that. That was I'll tell you something funny, right? About this will tease your branding and marketing side of your brain, right? When you go look up business podcast on YouTube, what do you think that you find? because I would consider this a business podcast. We want to be a resource for business owners. We want to be a resource for entrepreneurs, right? We want to answer a specific question every time we shoot an episode. What do you think you find?
Honestly, it's going to sound really funny. I'm not a massive, I think I've been interviewed on more podcasts than I've actually listened to,
No, yeah,
which is kind of funny. But honestly, I could see it, I don't know, some type of influencer, something.
It's
like,
exactly what it is. It's
Yeah.
Gary Vee and Grant Cardone and all of these like business influencers.
Yeah.
And you see like, you know, if let's say it shows you 25 videos, 20% of them or 20 of the 25 videos are something to the tune of, here's what millionaires know that broke people don't know. And here is, if I gave away all my money right now, I could still make $1 million in a month. Like,
It's like, what is it? It's like marketing by fear.
yeah,
basically.
exactly. It's kind of degrading to the audience.
A little bit.
Right? You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, if I haven't made $1 million a month for the past 20 years, I'm a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? And nobody knows that.
Yeah.
Nobody knows those things. And so like when we started this, we were kind of on that same the same wavelength as you were talking about earlier, like speaking all the languages, right? Because we want to talk sales and marketing, and we want to talk relationships and having a real conversation and all those things, because our business is tough. Like 3 of the biggest 5 credit card processors in the world are in Atlanta. You know what I mean? So we're in a highly, highly competitive market.
Right.
But when you think about, you know, from a branding and design perspective, and what is difficult about business, setting up your business gets easier and easier every day.
Very.
Shopify makes it much more attainable to just set up a business. You know what I mean? But like, it's just so crazy to me that there's such a vast majority of people that go through that learning curve over the first year or two of like the structural soundness of a business. Like, and I didn't learn that either. I literally learned it from this industry. I learned it from managing financials for other companies, right? It's like the only reason that I have any head start. But it blows me away that there's such a wide knowledge gap there in the actual structural business side of things.
And there's still stuff that I don't know, and probably things that I won't. Honestly,
Probably things that you'll pay people to know that you don't ever have to know.
that's my current.
That's
you
where
know,
I'm at, and I
exactly.
love it. You know,
Exactly. But you know, there's ways of dealing with people. There's making sure that your contracts are worded in a very specific way to protect yourself, to protect your work, and you know what you can do with it and what your clients can't do with it, and so on and so forth. I mean, my contract's basically a page. It's not that much at all.
clear and concise.
But it is very clear, very concise. This is what you get. This is what you don't get. This is how the payments work. This is when you get your final,
Right.
etc. But I got screwed over once, you know, right before I went out on my own because I didn't have a contract at the time, and I lost a little bit of money. But it wasn't a lot, but at the time it was.
Cheap lesson though.
Oh yeah, it was a cheap
hindsight.
lesson. It was a cheap lesson. So went there, had that, and that saved me more times than I can count.
No, yeah, for sure. I understand that. You know, you pay for your school somehow, right?
Right.
Yeah, you pay for your school somehow.
Right.
Whether you are the person out there that is, you know, listening to this podcast that went to school for X number of years, or you graduated from high school and started a business just like your dad did, you will pay for your education at some point, and some education is much more expensive than college. You never know. You know, that mistake that you could have made could have been for, you know, X client that was going to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? So like, when you're looking back, it's just a speed bump. You know, it's a speeding ticket on the road. As I always steal that from The Social Network, the movie. It's like, oh, it's a speeding ticket. It's like, pay it $70 million, just pay it. It's a speeding ticket. And no, that's cool. That's cool. Your journey is really, really cool, man. And your outlook on it, I think, is really, really cool too. You're just your perspective on business, and that you have to always be learning, but you kind of overcome everything that you need to with relationships. It's kind of the same way that we try to do things is always talking on the phone, very present, very involved in our network and trying to connect other people within our network.
Very.
And you know, it goes a long way. You know, you can beat it. you can beat a lot of those things that you don't know just with time and energy to the people that matter to your business. You know? So I think what you got going on is a brilliant thing.
I appreciate it.
How do people find you? If they want to buy something from you or pick your brain or...
So if you want to get in touch with me, go to thestudiotemporary.com for my most up-to-date work, as my website is always in the works, it seems.
Yeah.
For my most
Life of a designer, right?
Exactly. For my most up-to-date work, check out my Instagram at Studio Temporary. If you go on my site, some fun projects. If you go to the About page, you want to learn a little bit more about me. I've got links to interviews that I've done over the years, some talks that I've done as well. So if you want to get to know me a little bit more, if you want to work together, there's a contact form on my site, or you can just call me. Very easy to find, and we'll go from there.
Sure. And the what have you heard the illusion burn the ship before? There, I guess it's the phrase we make it an illusion, but
I've heard burning bridges or whatnot, but I haven't. And I've heard burn the ships before. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hernan Cortez, conquistador, comes to lands in Central America, and he makes everybody burn all their ships so that they don't go back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's kind of the hyperbole that we make about business around here is that, you know, once you kind of jump in and you actually jump in and commit and burn the ship, that, you know, amazing things start happening. Once you subscribe to that thought that you have to go all in on your business, you can do really, really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So my question to you, and this is kind of how we always in the podcast, what does that feel like? You know, what does it feel like with your journey especially, which is very, very difficult, you know, eviction and just very, very difficult things that you experience in your personal life that could have hindered you for a long time, but you didn't let it stop you, you know, and thank you to your wife from me.
Yes.
Yeah, and from you as well,
She is, my wife, Julie, has been, oh my goodness, none of this happens without her. None of this. She's been my biggest supporter. I've tried to return the favors, you know, as much as I possibly can. She was the one who told me to go for it.
Yeah.
Back in 2015, and I'm here right now because of her. And she can take that a couple of different ways. You know, all of this happened because you listened, you decided to listen. No, but no, it's been that way. So I just, you know, at one point I was just lying to myself that I could do it, and at some point you kind of start believing it.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like I've, you know, burned my ship a couple of times, but when I walked out of Impact, I said, that's it. You know, burn the ship. You know, that's it. Yeah. This is it. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah, and that's what it is. And you know, that it's very attainable. It's attainable for you and me and people that are listening. And you just have to commit. You have to ask questions. You know, ask me questions.
Don't be afraid to. You know, it's like
I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows all of it.
If you don't know,
or we'd
you
all
don't
be
know.
way. You know that there would be no value in doing what it is that you do. It's supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, there's no harm in asking for help. There's no harm in asking a question. Yeah. People are actually smarter for doing so.
Yeah, for sure. And people want to help you. It's human nature to step in and help someone.
There are some people that really are in it for themselves, and you'll find that as you go on. But
you'll be able to identify it super fast.
Yeah,
that's what I.
But for the most part, you ask somebody a question, they're going to help.
Yeah.
You know, come to them respectfully. Come to them. You know, do you have time for me to ask you this? Do you have time to do that? Always being respectful of their time and what they're trying to do. But that goes back to actually being able to have a good conversation.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
But, you know, come there with that respect, ask them for help. You know, 99 times out of 100, you're going to get it.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Burn the Ship. Unless you have any closing thoughts, the floor is yours. But this has been Burn the Ship, my friend. I think we answered all of my questions, and I really do appreciate you coming. I think your story is incredible. I think your temperament and perspective is incredible, and I think you're going to do some really cool things with your business. Seems like you've got some cool connections to go off of and add on to, and I think that's probably, you know, one of the most exciting things is that, you know, you're running your own business, you have some control over your schedule and your life. You're going to make plenty of money, but you're going to do stuff that makes you happy. You know what I mean? You're going to design stuff that's really cool, and it's going to make some impact, and you're going to get to see that firsthand. So I'm excited to share it with you.
I like it. Thanks, Billy. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.